Hi, Mom. So I would like to explain to you something very, very important in terms of dieting. There are two things. One thing is there is no successful dieting or no successful following the plan if you don't know what you're going to be eating. Okay, so you need to have like a weekly plan or at least 5-day plan for the meals that you're going to be eating, or at least for a shopping list, because it doesn't need to be a meal plan. It needs to be a shopping list plan so you know that you have enough protein, vegetables, and carbohydrates, which those are not so difficult to kind of fetch on a go, so that you can actually follow the plan. Okay. And the other thing is that in order to kind of have these, you want to also think, okay, if I don't have so much time to cook and I don't want to cook twice a day, which means for lunch and dinner, or maybe I want to just cook once or twice a week. Is it feasible? Is it possible? Yes, it is. And I'm going to show you how to do this, okay? Which is going to simplify your life so much more. So we're going to start first from the first thing, the shopping list. We're going to go into the tracker and I'm going to show you how to use how do you call that? A list that we put of all the different food components like protein, fat, carbs, and vegetables into creating or use it as a creation for that list. So starting with protein, we want to make sure that we have 2 meals a day, okay, not counting breakfast, 2 meals a day that are going to be protein. We have the portion sizes in here, okay? So in order to make sure that we have those and we are, let's say, shopping for 5 days, we want to make sure that, okay, in that 5 days, maybe I want to eat 3 times chicken. So I need to have 10 meals, right? So 3 times I'm going to have chicken. So I'm going to multiply that 100, 120 by 3, but maybe my husband wants to eat this actually by 6. Okay. Then maybe I'm going to get some white fish. I'm going to have it 2 times. I'm going to do the same thing for that white fish. I'm going to get the salmon. I'm going to do the same thing. And then I have these meals that are left. So 2, 2, and 3 is going to be 7. So I have 3 meals that I don't know what to do. But maybe I'm gonna be out, maybe it's not gonna be as easy, maybe I don't want to cook it yet because it's gonna go bad, etc. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just in case grab from the shop some frozen seafood, some canned tuna, just as an emergency, so I have them if I really haven't prepared anything. Loads of eggs, so I can actually cook them whenever I like if I haven't prepared anything. Um, yeah, and those are and some sort of like ham or something like this. So if I need to kind of make something quickly for the breakfast, I'm just gonna have that. So that would be my shopping list for the protein. Then in terms of fats, I just always want to make sure that I have in my home some coconut oil. Okay, that lasts for a very long time. So you want to kind of you wanna get these. You wanna get some nuts, okay, whether they're hazelnuts, Brazil nuts, mixed nuts, almonds, etc., pistachio, whatever you want. You always want to be stocked up on nuts, okay? No processed, not salted, not roasted, just pure nuts. Extra virgin olive oil is another nice thing to have. Maybe you could get some avocados in terms of like you would want to put it in a salad, but they go quickly off. So that's kind of an option of maybe 2 are going to be fine. Other thing you want to have at home is dark chocolate 80%, especially if you're approaching your period. You won't have that thing if you get some chocolate cravings to just be able to have a little bit of chocolate and kill those. And I would always suggest having some nut butter. Either there is peanut, whether it's almond, there is pistachio, there is cashews, anything you want. But those are the things to kind of always have in your pantry. Then the carbs. So if we're talking about hypoallergenic ones, there are the options in here. So obviously white rice is a good one. Sweet potatoes are really, really good to have in your fridge. Fresh fruit, you want to stock up on those. You want to have some beans, chickpeas, lentils. These actually you can buy in a can, okay, so they can last for a bit longer. You want to also have some options for like maybe some sort of chickpea pasta, something like this. For later on, you could try a sourdough, but again, these are the options that you would need to take from the bakery, so it's a bit more difficult. Then, veggies, anything that you like. I always recommend having some salad and some cherry tomatoes because if you haven't prepared any veg, it's so much easier to kind of just quickly put together a little salad where the ingredients you don't have to cook, then suddenly put a stove and cook your broccoli and then wait 20 minutes if you don't really have the time, okay? So now, how would we do this? So we have these options, like I said, to canned tuna or frozen seafood or in general frozen meat that you can use whenever you kind of didn't prepare anything and you need to cook something quickly. Okay, so frozen meat is going to be more difficult because you normally need to defrost it and marinate it. Although, a little trick in here, what you could do, you could actually pre-marinate your meat and then freeze it and then defrost it. It's going to be already marinated. Or like, for example, as a salmon instance, you could marinate your salmon, you could freeze it, and you could chuck it in the oven and it's going to defrost in the oven. Yes, it doesn't say it tastes the same, but trust me, sometimes it just saves your life. Otherwise, you could just get the canned tuna, you could get some eggs, which are very easy to and quick to do, no preparation almost needed. And then you could throw in some salads and you could get some rice cakes, for example, or sourdough bread or anything that has already been cooked and your kids have been eating in terms of carbs, but it could also be a fruit, okay? So let's say I'm really running late and I don't have anything prepared, but I have a canned tuna. I'm gonna have a canned tuna. I'm gonna prepare a salad. I'm gonna throw in some cherry tomatoes. I'm gonna throw in some cucumber. Then I'm gonna maybe put in some avocado because I have it, so for the fat. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have a apple after that, and maybe a little piece of chocolate because I deserve it. I feel like it. Okay, and suddenly we have a meal. So it's easier than you think. You don't have to think about as much as preparation, but it's so much easier to be prepared so you actually know what is happening. So going back to our shopping list, another thing you could do is you could actually prep few meals. So I do it like this, or I say my mom clients do it like this. Either you cook in the evening and then you cook double portion so that for lunch you end up eating exactly the same thing that you had for dinner. And it's 90% time is so much easier because lunchtime is the time that you're alone with kids or you're out and about. If you have already prepared your meal, you can take it with you or you can very quickly heat it up and eat it. Okay, you don't have to think about, okay, how am I going to cook it? I'm going to find the time, etc., etc. So it makes everything so much easier to do it this way. Another option you could try is to actually prep in batches. So you could either prep the meals and pack it in the boxes and then put it in a fridge. So let's say that the meal would be a salmon with roasted salmon with roasted veg in the oven with some potatoes and then broccoli on the side, whatever, like something like this. And then you would put like 3 meals like this. You would put it in the boxes. You would have it in the fridge. This is more like a bodybuilding style option, and I haven't seen many moms doing it, but it's an option. More sort of option that I like would be to make sure that you have sort of for 2 or 3 days, you have prepped different sort of sources of protein. So they either are marinated in the fridge or they are already cooked and ready to be reheated. The same thing with the vegetables. So they're already cooked and they're just ready to be reheated. And the same thing with the carbohydrates. You're just ready to reheat it. So for example, what you could do, you could boil the potatoes. So let's say it comes to Sunday. And you know that you're not going to have a lot of time cooking Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. What you could do, you could cook some potatoes, you could boil some rice, then you could boil some broccoli, and then, for example, green beans, or cook some courgette on a pan, or maybe some sort of veg tray in the oven. And then what you could do, you could maybe take the chicken breast and just marinate. So it marinates, stays fresh, and you can just very quickly heat it up. And then before your meals, you just chunk in the different parts. So you know that you have marinated chicken, you're just going to quickly cook it. Then you're going to reheat your rice, you're going to reheat your veg, you have your meal. Okay. Or maybe the same thing with the canned tuna, just open the canned tuna, then you reheat all the other components, you have your meal. Or maybe there was the same thing you got with salmon that you marinated it, or maybe you already cooked it. So it all kind of needs to be done. It's just to kind of put all the pieces, blocks together and then reheat your meal. Okay, that very nice kind of idea to kind of think about it as blocks: protein, vegetables, carbohydrates, and obviously the little fat always kind of there. But that can be easily solved by either adding avocado or a few nuts or a drizzle of olive oil or coconut oil, or just when you use it in cooking, it also counts because the food absorbs it. And that's it. As simple as it is, I know it's easier to talk about it than just actually do it and try it, but trust me, if you think about it this way, it's going to be so much easier to get your head around these plans. Awesome. Bye.